Hey everyone, my name is Zach REDRUP. You're listening to the It's Not a Phase podcast, and on this episode I'm joined by GLIMMERS vocalist Maggie Schneider. We talk about her love for musical theatre, transitioning her solo project into GLIMMERS, how they use the lockdowns to their advantage, their new single Jaded, the message of representation and individualism that the song promotes, and loads more. Now, if you enjoyed this or any other episode of the podcast and you want to show your support, there's a few ways that you can do that. Number one, leave a rating and review wherever you're listening to this. It takes just a few seconds and it really does help. Number two, share this on your social media, whether that be Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever. Or number three, if you want to go the extra mile, you can pay a little bit each month to join the Patreon, and in return you'll get access to episodes early along with some other perks, or you can pick up some merch from the store. All the links to that and the podcast socials where you can follow us can be found at itsnotaphase.co.uk. That's itsnotaphase.co.uk. And now with all that out of the way, let's jump right into this week's episode of It's Not a Phase. What's up everybody? Thank you for joining me on this episode of It's Not a Phase, where I'm joined by Maggie Schneider of GLIMMERS. How are you going?
I'm going well, doing well. It's holiday week, so just chilling, getting to the swing of things, but stoked to talk to you.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for coming on. What are you doing? Anything exciting on holiday week? Have you got anything planned?
Man, so for me, it's hard for me to spend my holiday not working because I'm very much I need to do band stuff. I need to write music all the time. So I'm going to have some chill time with my family, and I get to see my boyfriend's family too, and probably play games, play Mario Kart, maybe watch a Christmas movie because officially we're in Christmas season. So yeah, just take some much needed chill time.
Sounds good. What's your favorite Christmas movie?
Oh my God. Oh, that's so hard.
There's a lot to choose from. My usual ones are either Home Alone 1 or 2. They seem to be my go-to.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'm a Will Ferrell girl, so Elf is a must to watch every year. If we're talking about rom-coms, The Holiday is one of my favorites. And I love that Jack Black is the romantic interest in that movie, and he is so good. It's so sweet. So if I'm feeling rom-com vibes, definitely The Holiday, but Elf is my usual favorite if I want a good laugh.
Yeah, definitely. Good choices. So before we dive into GLIMMERS stuff, I just want to take basically talk about how you kind of found your love for music in the first place. So did you kind of grow up in a musical family?
So oddly, none of my family is really musical. There's always been a passion for music. Growing up, my parents would show me all of their favorite bands and artists like Bon Jovi and Rick Springfield and the Go-Go's, and I just had a bunch of music always playing around me, but my parents never really played any instruments. I found a love of singing and piano at a really young age. And they always tell me the story of how I had a little toy piano. And one night we were all in the living room and just commercials were on the TV. And there was a McDonald's commercial, and the little jingle, the ba-da-ba-ba-ba, played on the TV. And somehow, some way, with my toy piano, I picked out the notes for the McDonald's theme song. And so apparently my parents looked at each other and they're like, this is weird. I don't know what just happened. But yeah, so I've always loved music, and they were so supportive of me growing up. I begged for an acoustic guitar when I was 8 or 9 years old, and they were like, absolutely, but, commit to a year of lessons. We want to see you really, try to learn it rather than give up, because guitar is a hard instrument to start, especially as a little kid. So they gave me those opportunities to really fall in love with it. And I did theater throughout my life. I grew up as a theater kid and was in musicals and loved to act and dance. And it was kind of a melding pot of just different music and influence. And Then when I was watching Disney Channel and artists like the Jonas Brothers and Demi Lovato, and I thought, wow, they write their own songs. Like, this is so cool. Like, I want to maybe write my own songs. And so from there, then I fell in love with the idea of being in a band and hopefully touring one day. So it feels really good and surreal at times to see that I'm kind of moving forward with that dream that my younger self always wanted.
So we can thank McDonald's and the McDonald's jingle for starting you off on a musical journey then.
Yes, and they have the best French fries. So
Yes. What was kind of like your favorite bands and albums like in the scene when you were kind of growing up? So I guess as a theatre kid, you kind of enjoyed like the more opera, like rock opera kind of albums like American Idiot by Green Day or The Black Parade by My Chemical Romance.
Yeah, literally those two albums I can thank for like bringing me into the scene for exactly that reason. Like I love the way that they tell a narrative through each song. Not to mention they're fantastic songs, but just the theatrical quality of them and the way that they had these bigger themes and motifs throughout just always excited me. And so I can definitely thank The Black Parade as being the first like emo scene album that I fell in love with. And I remember my friend actually showing me that album. He was a bandmate in like my very first band ever. I was 12 years old and he was like, you need to listen to this record. Like, it's so good. I think you would really like it. And I remember listening and automatically being like, oh my God, this exists. Like this sound exists. This is amazing. So yeah, those two I can thank. And then Fall Out Boy, like Foley is still a huge inspiration to me, but it also has that theatrical sound to it.
Are you planning on going to the When We Were Young Fest? Because they're doing Black Parade in full, aren't they?
Oh my God, yes. So Alex, our guitarist, he actually just got us tickets to go, which I was so thrilled. I was so nervous. I was like, I want to go so bad, but I doubt I'll be able to get them. So he pulled through.
Yeah, I was looking at it and yeah, I'd really like to go, but getting there from the UK, it's like not cheap at all. And then once you're there, hotels and all that kind of stuff. But,
Vegas is something else. He was like, I snagged them and I got layaway, so we're just going to figure it out. I was like, yeah, we won't worry about that until a few months.
Yeah, that's a problem for the future. You know, for now,
whatever.
Yeah, it's October. You've got like nearly a year to worry about that kind of thing. So
exactly. The minute I saw the lineup, I was like, oh my God, because I hadn't been to last year's or the first year of When We Were Young, but not only seeing the Black Parade, but also seeing all of the reunion sets, like Hey Monday and We Are the In Crowd and Tonight Alive and like all of these awesome like female fronted bands that I love so much. I was like, okay, we got to make it happen.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. So then you obviously progressed then, and then I think you started as a solo artist, didn't you, before Glimmers was a thing? And then what was the point then, I guess, when you wanted to kind of like transition from a solo artist into, a full-fledged band, I guess?
Yeah. So, for me, one of my favorite parts about playing music is getting to share it with people and like having the ability to tour with my best friends and the people that I love the most is just such a amazing experience. And it's not something that you can replicate when you're doing it by yourself. And it's still amazing. And I'm very fortunate that when I was doing solo music, I did some really cool things. And I played like a date on the final year of Warped Tour in Atlanta and got to open for some really cool people. But there's something about playing with your best friends and also playing with a full musical arrangement behind you rather than just stripping things down all the time and playing acoustic that I really wanted. But I had never found like the right people to do it with or the people that had that same creative vision as I did to really like take it to that next level and try and tour. And so I really lucked out and found my boys, Alex and Jeremy, through playing with their local bands growing up. And then Alex, our lead guitarist, he actually recorded and produced a lot of my solo music.
Right.
And so I went to him for production and then realized, wow, he's a really great guitar player. Like, I would love to play with him.
Snag him, yeah.
Exactly. And then Jeremy, I met Jeremy when he was playing for another local band, and I filled in and played keys for a show.
Right.
And so we connected there. So the timing just kind of fell into place in like the best way. But yeah, it felt really good. I remember the first show that we did all together. It was in New Orleans. We did a Paramore tribute set. It was like a cover night.
Right.
So we did Paramore, and then I had friends who were in a Blink cover set, and then I think a Green Day cover set. And we played that show, and it was so fun and just kind of unlike anything I had done before. So it made it super easy to transition from being solo to getting to share that with people that I love.
Yeah. Well, I guess as well, the advantage of being in a band is obviously you've got these other like mindsets in terms of writing songs and, you know, decisions in terms of songwriting. And then on a live front, I guess you've then, when you're not, you know, in those songs where you're not playing the keys, you've got the ability to kind of dance around while you're singing, you know, and have fun.
Exactly. And I missed that. Like, I love playing, obviously, acoustic guitar and piano. And I love when we have the chance to play a longer set where I can play a stripped down song or two. But I like to jump around and look crazy as I'm performing my songs. And so it's super nice to have that freedom to get to move and interact with the crowd and my bandmates. And yeah, just kind of have the whole experience.
Yeah, just brings a bit more into the performance, doesn't it? So
yeah, exactly.
So was that Paramore like cover set you did then? Was that 2019, I think?
Yeah, it was 2019. It was before the pandemic. We played a few more shows like leading up to the shutdown and everything. And then right when the shutdown happened was when we decided, you know, we should rebrand this and move from a solo project to a band. So we spent really the majority of 2020 and 2021 like rebranding, coming up with the band name, finishing the music, making music videos in quarantine. So we kind of took that time away from shows as an opportunity to create something positive and kind of start new with Glimmers.
Right. So was it always the plan, I guess, before COVID then to do that rebrand, or do you think COVID didn't like force you to slam the brakes? It just forced you to kind of re-strategize what you were doing?
Yeah, you know, before COVID, I was already thinking about bringing the guys into the fold as more than just a backing band. But I think having the time to think and also, you know, not have the stress to play shows and the live element, it gave us a chance to step back and really like think about how we wanted to proceed. Because I had talked about all the time, you know, maybe I should change the name of the project, or, you know, maybe it should have a different vibe, or we should start fresh or something. But even though I missed playing shows for over a year, I think it really put us in the right headspace to start Glimmers and just not rush anything.
Yeah, because I guess that would be not only like the pressure, but like the temptation. Like you've wrote these songs and you're like, I'm really eager to showcase these live. Whereas with COVID, you literally couldn't do that even if you wanted to. So yeah, I guess you could kind of like take stock, and it's good that you had the opportunity in that downtime to kind of, you know, reassess what you were doing, because not a lot of bands had, you know, access to write and record songs themselves while they're in quarantine or whatever, and kind of remark things. They, you know, a lot of bands were just kind of waiting for things to open up again, and you know, at the time we didn't know how long that would be.
Yeah, no, I know. It's crazy to think about like how much has changed, even just as an artist or as a musician. Like, you know, obviously TikTok blew up. I feel like we as a scene are tapping into like online platforms even more than we used to, because there was a point when that was all that we had. So I feel like COVID was such a horrible thing. And I'm so thankful that we're out of it now. But it also, I think, put things into perspective and allowed us to be creative in how we were promoting our songs and just like not take shows for granted. Because at the end of the day, I feel like we're a band that, you know, if we had to choose between going on tour or recording, we would much rather go on tour and perform and, you know, have that live energy and meet people in real life and do all of those things. And so I think it was nice to take a step back, but then also not take for granted, you know, when we finally started playing shows again.
It's just such an unprecedented way of time for you to launch this this project, a new band. Like that's probably never going to happen again, at least not in our lifetimes. And not many people can say they tried to launch a band whilst most of the world is on a lockdown.
Oh, for sure. And it's funny because I was so nervous because I was like, is this the right time? Like, is this a good time to start something new? Is this the worst time to start something new? And I talked to a lot of people about it, but the advice that I got from a lot of people in the industry was, you know, we don't know what's going to happen. So you might as well just go after it 100%. And then when things open up again, then you'll have even more resources to tap into in your new project. But take it as an opportunity rather than a setback. But also give yourself the time to process and, you know, really not rush any of the creative.
I guess there might have been some apprehension on your side as well when things did open back up. You know, whilst things have been locked down, you were, like you say, working on your online presence and working on these songs and you're gaining all these fans online. But then I guess there might be some nervousness in terms of how do these numbers and pictures on the screen convert to actual fans in real life?
Oh, for sure. And, you know, that's something that I talk a lot about with my friends, because obviously, you know, TikTok became such a way to promote music. And there's such a huge connection between finding a song on TikTok and then becoming a fan that converts to Spotify. But there are so many cases, and ourselves included, and a lot of friends that we have, where the numbers don't align necessarily with the shows or either way. And so it's about getting creative and saying, okay, how do we make this an experience to where people online really want to come out to the shows, or even, you know, to have them see that we're playing a show in their city, which is always so interesting how like the algorithm can kind of wax and wane. And, you know, you'll have people say, oh no, I didn't know that you were just in Chicago. Like I live here. Like I could have gotten to the gig. So yeah, it was interesting, but you know, I think it's exciting that we have all of this stuff now. And for us as a band, we're just constantly trying to come up with new ways to bring our online listeners and fans like to the shows.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like you want to obviously do something a bit more creative than the norm, because you do want to bring those fans and you want them to be not fair weather fans. You want them to become diehards, right? And you know that so many bands will just, I don't know, post a song with this very kind of bland video and then they just expect the world to fall at their feet for it. And unfortunately, that's not the way it works. There's so much competition out there.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And, you know, I think one other thing that like COVID kind of brought light to also was like the power of collaboration. And we've been fortunate to collaborate with a lot of great friends and bands that we love. Magnolia Park is a band that we love so much. And, you know, I had the opportunity to sing on a song of theirs that was released towards the end of the pandemic. But having those opportunities to collaborate is so cool, because then like those fans maybe will find interest in your music and kind of finding the path to whatever you're doing. So yeah, it's fun. I think rather than the mindset of competition, we always think about, we have so many talented friends and so many wonderful people we would love to collaborate with that we don't know personally. So for us, it's like, what are the ways that we can like connect with this person and maybe make something together that will help both of us.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of like cross-pollinating bands across one another.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So fast forward a few years, you guys have put out 3 EPs so far, a live EP, you've done a few covers, and you even had a Christmas single a couple of years ago, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Quite a lot to do in, just a few years, and you are a relatively small band, but you've achieved quite a lot in that time. How do you kind of feel so far when you look back at what Glimmers has achieved so far, especially, like I said before, you're a band born during the lockdowns?
Yeah. I feel really like proud of what we've done so far. And we're an independent band. So for us, like, it means a lot if we have 5 people at a show or 50 people or 500 people. Like there's always an honor, and it's always surprising to me, because every tour I get a little nervous. I'm like, oh man, I hope that people come to the shows. Like, I know I've heard from people that they're excited to come, but I really, I hope that they come to the show and they have a great time and the experience lives up to what they have in their mind. And every time we go on tour, we have so many amazing people bringing us fan art or traveling from Mexico to a show date to come and see us. Like, there's so many amazing things that have happened to where I'm thinking, wow, like, as an independent band, and, we're still very much on the smaller level of things. It's cool to see that we're making an impact for people. So yeah, I'm super proud, and it's been super fun for us. Like, we as a band, we all love each other, and we all are so close. And so it never feels like a chore when we're together or when we're recording or on the road. So it feels good. And it just makes me want to put out more music, like seeing our Spotify catalog and being like, oh, wow, like, we have put out a good bit of music in the time that we've been a band, but I'm just like dying to to put more new stuff out.
Yeah, well, if it's 3 EPs so far, and that's not even all of the stuff you put out, that's an EP a year, which is good going. Like, most bands don't put out that amount of music so quickly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm the mom of the band, so I'm always thinking about, okay, what are we trying to do 3 months from now? Like, what music do we want to put out? Like, what do we want to say with the next release? What do we want to say with the next music videos that we do? And so, yeah, I'm constantly thinking about whatever the next thing is, but I try to live in the moment and be like, I'm proud of what we just put out.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good to look forward, isn't it? Because you don't want to, as much as you want to live in the moment and enjoy the moment as it is, you do need to kind of think of the next step, because, time flies fast. You need to know what's going to happen next.
Oh, for sure. It's like that Ferris Bueller quote of life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Yeah.
You got to live in the moment, but you want to have that end goal in mind.
Yeah. Well, speaking of current day Glimmers, you got your new song Jaded that came out a few weeks ago, and that's your first cut of original material since your EP Human Furnaces, and that came out earlier this year. How have people been reacting to this new track? Because I know at one point, unfortunately, you had to do like kind of a infamous notes app apology, shove that on your social media, because I think there was people interpreting it in completely the wrong way.
Yes, for sure. So this song, I'm lucky to say that this song has gotten much more of the positive response in terms of people really listening to what we are saying with it since its release. As a woman in rock music, and I wrote this in my statement as well, but as a woman in rock music, there are a lot of challenges that are thrown our way. And it's something that I think can appear to be more of a niche dilemma than a lot of the public, can really relate to, because it is something that women in music, but really more specifically women and non-male performers in rock music and in the scene have to deal with. And so I think there were a lot of just kind of misconceptions of the song being more of a negative point of view rather than something that's more empowering, which is exactly how we wrote it. But the song, it's called Jaded. It's about kind of the never-ending cycle of comparison as artists, but more specifically, when you're a woman who's being compared to Hayley Williams of Paramore. And I am one of the biggest Paramore fans. I love them so much. But the song itself, it's about that conversation that I have had with so many women in the industry, whether it's Tay Jardine from We Are the In Crowd to Cassidy Pope from Hey Monday. I've shared many a conversation with incredible artists, and it's just the idea of always being compared and not being recognized for your own voice. And so with this song, we wrote it as a way to, shine a light on all of the amazing women and non-male performers that, are kind of put in a box by comparison, when in reality, they should be uplifted just as women like Hayley Williams are constantly uplifted and revered. And, it's funny, something that I read and something that Tay Jardine told me when we were talking about the song was Hayley Williams was constantly compared. And funny enough, she's talked about it in a few interviews. She was constantly compared to Gwen Stefani, which is so interesting to me because their voices are completely different.
Yeah, completely different.
Completely unique from one another. So for me, the song itself, it's the irony of, even our heroes and even someone so amazing and talented as Hayley Williams was compared to someone else. So for us, it's a very empowering thing. And I'm super happy that, especially with the whole song out, that people have had the chance to listen and really take in the true meaning of it. But yeah, it's been an interesting ride for sure. But I'm glad that it's being seen as how it was written.
Yeah, it was really strange discourse. Like, even in the lyrics, you say, I might be paraphrasing here, but we love Paramore, we love Hayley Williams. And it's not a diss at Hayley Williams at all. Like, to say you've got a voice as great as Hayley Williams is a compliment, but that's not the issue. The issue is that every single rock band or pop punk band, anything in the guitar-driven music world, it's like, oh, you've got a female singer, you sound like Hayley Williams, you sound like Paramore.
Right, exactly. And there are people who come to me at shows and say, you remind me so much of Hayley Williams. And I do take that as a compliment, considering she remains a huge influence. But there are the people, unfortunately, that take that comparison and say, oh, they just have a girl lead singer, guitars, heavy drums, she belts high notes. Yeah, they're just a carbon copy.
Yeah.
That is where the problem lies, for sure.
Yeah. Like, it's even with like bands that don't sound at all the same. Like, I think when they kind of first started, Spirit Box were being called like a heavy Paramore, sound nothing like Paramore in any way, shape or form. And then there's a band from the UK called As Everything Unfolds, and their singer Charlie, British accent, screams in most of the songs, nothing like Hayley, but they get called a heavy Paramore. And it's like, what's wrong with your ears? Like, where are you making this comparison?
Yeah, and there's just a double standard, and I think that's the part that can be frustrating. And even, bands like Honey Revenge, who we're friends with, they've spoken out about this too, of, bands that are more male dominated, the comparisons, they aren't the same. Like, they're not always pitted against the same band. And at the same time, it's amazing to have influence and to embrace those influences. But when people constantly kind of put women in the box of all sounding the same, that limits our opportunity to be heard and receive those shows and streams and, all of those opportunities that we do deserve for all working hard. So.
Yeah. I mean, at best, comments like that are lazy and ignorant. at very best, that's what they are. But it's just like saying female fronted isn't a genre. Like, you don't say a male backed band or
right.
It's a male fronted band, do you? It's a band.
Right. Exactly. And, I'm not going to lie, it's extremely hard for me to feel like that message was misconstrued, especially with, everything we try to do as a band is to spread positivity. And so I hate that the message of the song was taken in that shade of light. But, at the end of the day, like, some people are gonna understand where we're coming from. Some people aren't. And that's what art is. Like, art isn't meant for everybody. Art is meant to, empower and to make people think and to also challenge. Yeah. And so if I challenge some people, then that is fine with me too.
Yeah. We definitely got conversations going, which I guess is the point, right? Like, maybe not those conversations, but you started something.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. I have a lot of great friends who reached out to me and who added positivity to that conversation and said, you need really listen to what they're saying. Like, this is a problem that you may not be able to relate to. And at first glance, it may seem negative, but if you're in our shoes, maybe you would understand better.
Yeah. Do you think that why? Because I think, was the song not originally called Haley? And
it was.
I guess part of changing the song name was because people were construing it as you were attacking Hayley Williams, which was the complete opposite thing of what you're saying in the song.
Absolutely. And, we had a lot of conversations because we were on tour during that whole week.
Oh, wow.
Which made this more difficult for me because I wanted to make the right decision of whether or not to release the song even. I was not sure if we should move forward with the song because I didn't want to put something out there that would seem at all negative or hateful or clout chasey or whatever. And so we decided as a band, we would rather put it out and have our message be told, but changing the name would illustrate our point of it's not about her. We love her. It's about the feeling of being jaded and misconstrued and feeling invisible as a female artist.
Yeah. And I bet you're glad you put it out now, like you say, now that people have actually heard the full song and can actually take it into context as opposed to taking this like minute part of it. It's kind of like when people read like news articles, but they'll only read the headline and they won't read the actual article itself. And they just jump to their own conclusions for their own narrative of what you're trying to say.
100%. And, it's unfortunate too that social media can do that, like if you see one person retweet something, it's easier to share that same post or kind of harp on that train of, oh, this is exactly what this is without even listening to the song.
Yeah. Like, check out yourself, form your own opinion. And if you don't like the song because you just don't like the song, I guess that's fine. But if you're not understanding the message, then that's something different.
Right. For sure. So it has been a whirlwind, but I'm really happy to see that people are taking that empowering message from it now. And that's all that we want to do. We just want to lift people up and hopefully inspire fellow female artists and non-male artists to find their way and to not feel discouraged by this double standard.
Yeah. And you also had like Jenna from Tonight Alive. I know you shared that video where she was like, kind of appreciating the song and the representation that you're kind of invoking in that song. And then you shared like another video of some different front women and non-male singers holding up these signs saying what their real name is. Not Hayley, obviously. Like I saw Bronnie was in that video, like she's been on the podcast before.
I love Bronnie.
She's great. How have you been finding like the reaction from, I mean, for lack of a better word, your peers, in the industry, like, Tay Jardine as well, like you said before, she spoke out on it as well.
It has been overwhelmingly positive. And that's the thing. I think the disconnect, a big part of it was the fact of, if you're not a performer or a musician yourself, it can be hard to relate to.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, all of the people in that video that we posted yesterday, all let me know that they support us and supported the song and they were proud to be a part of it. Because for me, like, I just want to showcase my friends, like I just want to show that when we're a community and when we stick together, like we're way stronger than we are when we're apart. And so it was really nice. And, a lot of my friends, especially when that was going on, reached out to me and said, how are you? Like, I want you to know this song is important and it moved me and it made me feel seen.
Yeah.
So, we're here for you and we back you 100%.
Yeah.
And so that really spoke volumes to me for the people who reached out personally and FaceTimed me and called me. Like, I'm really lucky to have that support system. And it made me realize, the intention of what we are trying to do is being seen for what it should be by the people who have been through this.
Yeah. So. Who can relate to it the most. Yeah,
for sure.
I think, there is things are better. It's not perfect. There's still a lot of work to do, but I think, you see it more online now as well. Like if a festival will have maybe 5% of their lineup will have someone who is not a male in the lineup, in the band lineup. Then people will call it out, and sometimes it changes, sometimes it doesn't. But I think what's good about this song, even though you had all that drama before it came out, it's adding to that conversation and no doubt will help push other people who maybe didn't think of things like that to kind of ask for change in situations like festival lineups that aren't having full representation where they can.
Absolutely. And, we had someone come to our show in Boston last month. It was our last show of tour. Needless to say, going through this on the road was a tough experience. Because we want to put on the best shows that we can and be excited and like just be truly present in what we're doing. And so it was challenging to kind of go through all of the emotions surrounding this while being on the road. But we had someone come to our Boston show and say, hey, I know that this week has been hard for y'all, but I just want to let you know, I found your band through all of those posts. Yeah. And I really love the song. And I think the song is really important. So if it means anything, just know that you inspired one person to come out to your show and really think about what you were saying. And so, when there's a light at the end of the tunnel and when you hear from those people, face to face, then that is so much more meaningful than a bunch of random people on Twitter who do not know me.
Yeah. It's I guess it's like in the moment, it's just hard to see that light, isn't it? Because you're just getting bombarded with these tweets and whatever it may be. So when someone does come up and say, hey, I'm a real life person, you have helped me not only discover your band, but kind of think of things in that way. And they'll take that with them for the rest of their lives, no doubt. Yeah.
And I will too. Absolutely. Like that makes all of the hardship or, the tears in your ice cream worth it.
So looking at Glimmers in the future, what's planned for the rest of this year and also 2024 so far?
Yeah, so we have one more release for this year, which I'm very excited about. I think we're going to announce it soon. But I have teased it a little bit with what we've talked about. Okay. So I did mention a person that is a part of our next release. So I'm very excited about that. So we're going to put out one more song for 2023. And then we have a final hometown show on December 6th here in Atlanta to kind of close out the year. And then we have some shows we're already booking for early next year. Hopefully going to tour in the spring as well. So, just a lot of new music, in the same kind of pop rock sound as Jaded. But yeah, I'm super excited, and we're just kind of in the planning process of getting videos together and finishing mixes and all of that good stuff.
And what have you got planned for Christmas and New Year's for yourself? How are you going to celebrate?
Oh man. So I'm a big Christmas person. I'm staying home. I travel a lot, so I'm going to stay home with my family. I'm going to go to North Carolina for a weekend with my boyfriend. We're going to do a little Polar Express trip. They have like a train ride that is like a Polar Express. So doing festive stuff like that. And then, just, spending time with friends and family, doing some more theater covers. I've been doing a lot of that just for my own personal content. Playing with my dogs. I miss them when I'm on the road. So just having the chance to have downtime and kind of get ready for a new year.
Sounds all good to me. That's the best way to end the year, I think. Just chill out and see the new year in all recharged and ready to go.
For sure. Exactly.
Cool. Well, thanks very much, Maggie. Really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. Before I let you go and enjoy the rest of your day, any final words, anything you want to say, anything you want to plug? Floor's yours. Yeah.
So first I want to say thank you so much for having me. This has been my first interview since Jaded coming out. So I appreciate, talking with you and just having just a really awesome conversation. For those listening, I think the one thing I hope that you can take away is to follow your dreams, to never let anyone tell you what to do or who to be as a person or as an artist. And you can find all of our new music and tour dates and news in general at GLIMMERS Band on all social media platforms.
Well, thanks very much, Maggie.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
No worries. Take care. See you later.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
And that is it. Thank you so much for listening. Again, if you enjoyed this or any other episode of the podcast, then please leave a rating and review wherever you're listening to this. If you want to support the podcast further, you can go and give it a follow on social media, pick up something from the merch store, or subscribe to the Patreon to get early access to episodes. All the links can be found at itsnotaphase.co.uk. That's itsnotaphase.co.uk. Thanks again, hopefully catch you on the next one, and remember, it's not a phase, it's a lifestyle.